A very warm welcome, everyone, to our webinar today discussing planning and budgeting for NetSuite with Naviloq, featuring also Global Maritime. I'm your host, Nico Korki, and these are the points we'll be covering. Let me just change the slides. Here we go. Again, these are the points we'll be covering within the roughly next 30 minutes or so. And from introducing our presenters, I will just share first some basic information about Naviloq and how the solution can be used for planning and budgeting, followed by a short demo where you get to see Naviloq in action, after which we will get to the actual good stuff, being the discussion with Global Maritime. We've also reserved some time in the end for Q&A, but please feel free to start submitting questions already now throughout the webinar. We'll be answering all of them in the end. But as said, I will be the master of ceremony today. I'm the head of commercial operations for BM Planning here at Staria, and joining me is Global Maritime's group finance manager, Christian Brigg. A few words about Global Maritime. They are founded already back in 1979, and they are a marine, offshore, and engineering consultancy business that specializes in marine warranty, dynamic positioning, and engineering services, with many different geographical locations and subsidiaries across the globe. But moving on to Naviloq, what is it? Well, in a nutshell, the solution has been co-created together with our customers here at Staria, and we are the Europe's leading NetSuite partner. And Naviloq is a next generation tool that works as a one-stop shop for all of your business management needs. It seamlessly integrates a data warehouse, a BI solution, and planning functionalities, all into a single comprehensive solutions that end users from finance and business operations can actually adopt, because there are any technical skills required to use the tool. We boast more than 100 integrations to different ERPs, mainly to NetSuite, of course. And the integrations also range from CRMs to HR systems to any other data sources imaginable. So we don't have any limits when it comes to importing data from all of your important data sources. You're able to hit the ground running with Naviloq with NetSuite. This slide just presents the out-of-the-box content which you'll be getting. It actually holds several different types of financial dashboards, stuff like P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow, as well as several different types of planning templates already that you get to start using once we just turn on the integration. So really, really comprehensive starter package to get you going. But just to provide some flesh around the bones when it comes to our planning and budgeting solutions that we are able to offer with NetSuite, we're able to tailor our planning templates to suit any types of business cases and needs that our customer organizations face. So we're not restricted to just simple P&L planning. We're able to use Naviloq to cash flow planning and ultimately to your workforce planning, or whatever the use case might be. Include multi-departments, do sales forecasting, incorporate data from all of your operational source systems that you can make your planning more accurate and automated. Stuff like scenario planning and driver-based planning are bread and butter, and you can do planning any way you like. You can start gathering forecast inputs bottom up, or then you can make adjustments on a high level top down. And once you're done, Naviloq is really, really easy to compare all of the different forecast versions against each other in reporting, thus actually allowing you to monitor the development of your forecast accuracy. We are all about collaboration and bringing every single stakeholder together on the same cloud-based platform, thus giving you truly extended planning and analysis. You can share comments regarding your forecast updates and ask questions from other users using the built-in chat groups. And then you can foster collaboration with all the operations themselves and break the traditional barriers between the finance department and the business operations themselves. And finally, what sets us apart? We are actually giving you everything that you need. from the foundations, which is your data warehouse, to the pre-built dashboards, collaboration, quickly deployed solutions, to all of the extensive planning functionalities with absolutely 100% code-free user interface. But now it's time for a quick introduction about Naviloq. You'll be seeing the extensive planning features during a roughly 10-minute demonstration, after which we will move on to the discussion. But let me now switch over to the demo.
In this demo, I'll be introducing the planning features of Naviloq by showing what a forecast update process could look like. Let us start by first creating a new planning version that we can then make available to the rest of the organization. We can control all of our planning versions here, and these are some of our previous versions that we have created. Let's start creating a new one, and we can give the new planning version a name. I'm just going to call it the latest open forecast. And Naviloq automatically suggests us a new rolling 12-month forecast length. And naturally, we can change this if we want to, like so. And I can also decide the date from which I'm going to allow forecast inputs. Luckily, we don't need to start from scratch with the new forecast, since I can copy any other previous planning version as a starting point for my new forecast, be it my previous forecast round or, for example, my budget. I could also copy previous year actuals or actuals from any other past period as a starting point for my new forecast. But I'm going to stick to the budget for this forecast version. I'm going to go ahead and copy the setup, and it will include all the planning models and templates and data into this new forecast version. So as easy as that, we're ready to save new forecast version and create the data. And we're good to go with our latest forecast version. And now that the version is created, this is what the forecast update process could look like from the end user perspective. Here we're looking at an example of an operational view of planned number of items sold. In Naviloq, you can tailor the planning templates to meet the needs of different stakeholders so that the templates speak the language that they understand. Here we can see, for example, historical sales trend data for our item in question. And this data has been retrieved directly from the built-in data warehouse. We can have a look at the seasonality in sales, and we can take that into account in our forecast updates. Or I can ask Naviloq to do that automatically for us. We just select from this drop-down that we want to allocate our new total quantity by quantity last year. And I'm going to assign a new number, let's say nice round number, like 8,000. And Naviloq will automatically allocate this total number following the seasonality in last year's actuals. So this is just a simple example of driver-based planning in Naviloq. And the numbers generated by drivers, in this case, the number of items sold, can be directed as forecasted sales in the background to our plan, profit and loss. On this view, I have highlighted this row in red, so that it's easy for you to see that these are the exact same sales numbers generated by our driver-based planning model on the previous view. And it goes without saying that in Naviloq you can also gather forecast updates bottom up by inputting numbers for example, on a account level. And users are always able to input values in their local currency. And those inputs can later be transformed in reporting to display numbers in the group reporting currency. The visuals on this page also demonstrate Naviloq's capabilities to handle scenario planning and how you can easily compare different scenarios against each other in reporting. So let's say we want to change our assumptions for this forecast round. If we want to factor in, for example, an expected increase in our materials and services costs, for example, due to inflation, we can use the built-in index functionality to do that easily. I could, for example, increase our planned service purchases by 10% by assigning a new index of 110. And Naviloq automatically increases all the forecast periods by 10%. And once I commit to my changes, I can see what this new update does to my planned gross margin percentage. Also, if we make the conclusion that our low case scenario is still too optimistic and that peak in January sales is unlikely, we can easily address that by selecting the planning version we want to edit. In this case, the low case scenario, and we can make an adjustment right away to January sales, like so. And we can see that effect right away on the visuals, and that really flattened the curve. All the different planning models in Naviloq can be linked together, and this allows us to see what effect do these different forecast versions have ultimately, for example, on our cash flow and cash balances. This view is now displaying our low case scenario, and things are not looking too optimistic. But I can change this view to show our current forecast, and things are looking a bit brighter. And based on our updated views on the future business performance, we might also need to make updates to our workforce plan and to our coming new hires. We're now planning to increase the headcount in this department towards the end of last year, this year. And we might need to actually be a little bit more cautious as we were in our previous forecast. In Naviloq, you can do workforce planning on an employee level, and you can make that even easier by connecting your HR system directly into Naviloq. We have also created a separate row for speculative new hires, and this is now something that we want to adjust. I can go right up till December, where we see our increase in headcount, and I can just decrease this amount from 3 to, let's say, 1, and I can easily make this same update to the remaining future forecast periods by right-clicking this amount and selecting the quick action repeat values to right. And this updates the same number for January and February as well. And once I'm happy and I'm ready to save my changes, I can then actually provide some comments on my forecast updates using the chat groups. And all the comments that I store in the chat groups will be stored and kept safe for later reference. I'm just going to let my colleagues know that I decrease the number of expected new hires. And I can also attach the very plain template that I was editing as an attachment to my comment so that my colleagues can see exactly the same view that I was looking at when I made these changes. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Post. And to sum it all up, Naviloq pulls the data together from all the different planning templates across the organization, and you can view the total forecast and compare it to any other forecast version, for example, your previous forecast or your budget. And you can see where the changes are coming from, for example, on a department level through waterfalls. And you can see also the differences for each of the forecast months and even on your P&L line level. But this concludes our demo on Naviloq's planning capabilities.
So that was the demo itself, and now we're actually ready to move on to the discussion with Christian. So Christian, please step up to the virtual stage, if you will. There we go.
Thank you. Yes.
A very, very warm welcome. Love to have you, Christian, here. As a starting point, I thought it would be good to actually tell to the audience a little bit more about your position and role over at Global Maritime and your responsibilities.
So now I work as a group finance manager in the parent company in Global Maritime. So we sit in Stavanger on the west coast of Norway. And then we have approximately 17 subsidiaries throughout the world, covering all our hours of the day for the most part. Among my responsibilities is managing the reporting and budgeting forecasting side of the financial processes. So it's kind of inward focus on me, but I'm trying to first of all manage these processes, but also improve and make them as efficient as we can to overall supply good finance delivery to the company.
Perfect. But generally, like, how long have you actually been using NetSuite over at Global Maritime?
Yeah, so we began in 2019. So it's been was a bit of a tough exercise to go through, but changed out 40 or so different systems globally into now a handful. But we started that in 2019.
Right. So then how did you actually manage the planning and budgeting with NetSuite before implementing Naviloq back in 2022?
Yeah, no, we've been through a few different tools. We began, my first exercise was using Excel and VBA coding, so we're very manual. And then we moved alongside the NetSuite implementation into Oracle's product, NSPBC, I think it's called nowadays. And then we used that for two years, and then we moved into Naviloq in 22. Basically trying to kind of have a solution to some of our main challenges with both the planning and budgeting process, but also the reporting side. But in our past experience, we've seen that the different solutions that are available have always come with some sort of trade-off compared to what we ideally would like to see in the specification and the possibilities of how to set up both reporting and also planning and budgeting. And it's also been very either manual or heavily depending on consultants to run these systems or change or adapt to the company.
Yeah, exactly. So there were really the main pains that you have or that you were hoping to solve when you were actually making the decision to implement Naviloq. What really convinced you to actually opt for Naviloq?
Yeah, no, we looked into to few different products. There was we had different what's called Excel tools. You had NSPBC, and kind of all of them. They had these trade-offs, either in very heavy to manage because it's very strict in terms of what you can do and adapt it. But then looking at Naviloq, what kind of one of the I guess the summary is the flexibility that we get in both reporting and forecasting, and then also having a very user-friendly layout and process to both the reporting side, but also the forecast scenario planning, and also the kind of the ability that we've found out with Naviloq to source data from NetSuite, which historically has been a challenge for us, that the data that we would like to use for different things are not necessarily easily available in other systems and platforms. So all of these things together, it was quite an easy choice to make when we had been through a demo and also test run of the platform.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you were previously using NetSuite planning and budgeting as your solution. So compared to that, what impact has Naviloq had so far on your planning and budgeting?
The impact so far is that it is easier and quicker to just do a budget and or forecast, create new versions, scenario planning, but also we're able to do a lot more things ourselves in terms of creating reports using the data that is produced. We don't necessarily need a consultant every time to do these things, and it's very easy to adapt. Also, when we get if we're expanding, coming up with new ideas to view the business, it's very adaptable to standardize the processes also and reports, so we get overall very user-friendly system, which makes it easy for us to run.
I think the people will be interested to learn, in more detail about the solutions that have been implemented for you in terms of budgeting and forecasting. Global Maritime being a global business with multiple subsidiaries across the world, could you shed some more light on the different templates that have been made for you, the different planning models that you're actually using right now?
Yeah, so in terms of the models we use, we have the planning. I'm not sure if I'll give it a go and see. I can ask more, but we're using the planning model of Naviloq, and then also we use it for our reporting, both internally and externally. So then we have a standardized as a package of templates and reports. So we manage it centrally, and then we just push out to the organization. So it's all very ready to use when they log in or enter the platform.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, your end users then inputting their forecasts in their local currencies, and there are probably a lot of intercompany transactions and all these kinds of things that you need to tackle.
Yeah, and so we have, I'm not sure how many currencies, but a good portion of different currencies. So handling the currency aspects of both actuals and planning budgeting is very straightforward, and also limiting what the users need to do. They just filter, or we have been able to reduce the input requirements quite heavily. Another big item for us, especially in the planning section, is to also be able to include intercompany planning to the budgeting, because it's been a challenge to do that before, or when we've done it, it's been quite a messy undertaking, not always eliminating properly and so on and so forth. So yeah, now we're at a good spot.
Yeah. Then can you then talk us through how Global Maritime has approached the Naviloq rollout in the organization? How did you do it?
It was a very easy implementation compared to what we have experienced in the past. But going into the whole implementation, we was quite didn't have too much to do on our end. We supplied what we had. These are the templates and structure that we would like to see, and then your team very efficiently helped us put that in place, so we could then quite quickly verify that the data is coming through as planned and it works. And then we made it quite simple. I had a few kind of training sessions, meetings internally, assigned users, made the internal documentations and guidelines of how to go through the different steps, and then pushed it globally. It didn't do too much more than that, really. It was so for the user side, it's been more of an out of the box experience, and then from essentially in the group company, we've been able to then do the necessary items to roll out the system, and it's very just get in, sign in, use it for the regions and local entities.
Exactly. And then, well, finally, Christian, what's next on your Naviloq journey?
Yeah, well, we are at, I think, a good place nowadays, where we have covered, let's say, the what we can maybe call basic requirements, and are at a stable place. But then our next is to further increase the data import into Naviloq, to get more data into it, expand with HR reports and so forth, but also expand just the general reporting package that we have, going from the let's say requirements and more into the nice to have stat. So the users are have more data they can use, but also readily available in a good high quality format. So it's they can use it for decisions and planning ahead, and also assess how the business is performing. So yeah, trying to see what more we can get out of it, and also there are a few nice additions and functionalities that we can add to the planning process, making it easier to use, and also create new versions and go through the process faster than before, and not spend too much time on it. So, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thanks a lot, Christian. Thanks for taking the time and joining the webinar to share your story and your experiences. And
Thank you.
Now it's time to do the Q&A part. So please, if you haven't done so already, now is the ideal time to start with any questions that you might have. Christian and I are both here to answer them. If you'd like to learn something more about Global Maritime, about their setup, get their feedback, or if there are any other questions or Naviloq, happy to take them. There's actually one. How many users do you actually have, Christian, working on the platform when it comes to budgeting and forecasting?
We have, in terms of input, we have approximately 20 users facilitating the input, and then we have currently 30 let's say reporting users that view the data, either planning or actuals. But then also, so that's the current, I think, user pool at the moment. Of course, there are possibilities to increase the number of users as well into, let's say, project management and those type of resources. So can increase in the future.
Let's see if there are any other questions coming for us. Looks like now, good, there is one. Are there any AI features on the Naviloq roadmap? And how about the Excel interface similar to NetSuite planning and budgeting? Great question. I can answer this one, Christian. Let me take this, Christian. In terms of the AI functionalities, yes, definitely. We have those on the roadmap. We will start developing them later, already during this year. So hoping to actually launch them then or during the course of 2025. And we already have some light AI functionalities like our explain change functionality, which actually runs algorithms in the background to find automatically explanations for you behind changes in numbers. So that is right now the closest thing that we have for AI. But as for a similar Excel interface with NSPB, we really don't have that. We don't have a similar Excel plugin, which is called Smart View NetSuite planning and budgeting. So that is a nice feature within NetSuite planning and budgeting, definitely. Whereas we just try to focus on providing you the tools that you need directly within the user interface. But naturally, you can always export data from Naviloq into Excel. And then another one, you showed an example where you input sales of 8,000 euros allocated to the months based on last year. Would it also, let me see if I can hear the rest of the question, because it's not showing me. Could you actually pose the question again, please? Then I can answer it. I'm only seeing just a small part of it. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. We also learned that you enter sales to customer A of 8,000 and can do an automated allocation of that into different products based on last year. Definitely, yes. That is something we can do. So if you have, for example, a total amount that you want to distribute to lower levels, for example, individual products and customers based on last year's actuals and what the seasonality was, you can do that also on the same template. Great question. Yeah. Just to keep things simple in that demo, we just didn't have those dimensions inside the planning template, but we could easily do that. Yeah, then another question, is it possible to work with different exchange rates within forecast or budgeting? It is. So as a standard functionality, you're able to determine the exchange rates for each forecast and budget, or any planning version for that matter. So you can lock the currency exchange rates that you want to apply to each forecast version. That way you can control the effects that the different exchange rates might have when you're, for example, comparing your forecasts to your actuals. Yeah, this is actually a fairly frequently requested thing from us, so that's why we introduced it as a default functionality in the UI, so you can set the exchange rates for yourself. But naturally, we always automatically retrieve the exchange rates also from NetSuite, or for example from the European Central Bank every night. So you get to choose those two options. But if there are any other questions, we've used our time that we've reserved. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar. Thank you again, Christian. And if there are any other questions that you come up with later after this webinar, do send them over. Happy to take them. And thank you for participating. Have a nice day, everyone.